Welcome to the AHP300 Transport Ventilator Overview and In-Service presentation. In this presentation, we will cover several topics, including a general overview of the AHP300, a walkthrough of the control interface, a review of the special features and how they are used, and a ventilator setup procedure. We will start with the general overview of the AHP300. The AHP300 is the newest transport ventilator from Allied Healthcare Products. Allied has long been known for its transport ventilators, including the AutoVent 2000, AutoVent 3000, and AutoVent 4000 series pneumatic ventilators. Like its predecessors, the AHP300 is designed to be rugged and easy to use, with the added benefits of extended patient range and additional ventilation modes and features. The AHP300 transport ventilator features an extended patient range and therefore can be used on patients as small as 5 kilograms or 11 pounds. Additionally, it features a wide array of ventilation modes including volume control ventilation, pressure control ventilation, and a standalone CPAP mode with optional pressure support for bi-level ventilation capability. In each controlled ventilation mode, the user can choose the type of spontaneous breath support using either assist control or synchronized intermittent mandatory ventilation. In addition to its broad feature set, this rugged ventilator is suitable for extended transport use in a broad range of extreme environments. It is shock resistant to 100 G-force and tested to withstand falls from up to 3 feet. It is also water resistant, rated IPX22, meaning it can be used outdoors and rained on without water ingress. It features a patent-pending internal dual diaphragm compressor that is capable of up to 90 liters per minute flow. It uses an affordable lead-acid battery, which gives the AHP300 7.5 hours of independent operation. It also has an optional external battery extending its independent operation to 21 hours. Finally, the AHP300 offers several convenient features that make it easy to use and safe. The first is our Quick Start mode, a set of programmable presets which lets an institution pre-program up to 5 ventilation protocols into memory and recall them instantly with the press of separate rapid recall buttons. This feature allows the responder to typically begin ventilating a patient with their desired protocol in under 20 seconds. The second feature is seamless mode transition, a protocol that automatically transfers the key ventilation parameters from the current to the desired ventilation mode, avoiding abrupt changes in tidal volume or pressure. The user can then make slight modifications in the new mode as needed to adjust the therapy. The AHP300 also features O2 Conserve. This is a feature that limits the amount of oxygen used, extending tank life and making it possible to run the vent from an oxygen concentrator. Finally, the AHP300 features dynamic flow optimization, a feature that senses a restricted airway in the pressure control mode and automatically adapts the flow to maximize delivered tidal volume across the selected inspiratory time, significantly increasing the delivered tidal volume despite the airway restriction. We will cover these special modes and features in more detail later in the presentation. While the AHP300 offers a full array of modes and features, it's quite easy to learn and very easy to use. This next section will walk through the control interface. You may notice that the AHP300 looks a little different from most ventilators. That's because it is. It features a single panel interface, meaning there are no menus to scroll through with a jog dial and no toggle buttons that represent multiple modes. This makes the vent easy to learn and easy to use, but also offers enhanced ease of operation in low light or bright light conditions, superior resistance to the elements, and low maintenance over time. The control panel can be divided into two sections. The control section is where the ventilation parameter selections are made. The feedback section is where the user will monitor the patient's feedback based on the settings that have been entered. Breaking this down further, There are 9 sections that make up the ventilator interface. We will now take you through each individual panel. On the top left, you will find a raised panel containing the power switch and the quick start panel. The quick start panel allows the user to quickly recall previously saved ventilation protocols and will be covered in the special features. Moving to the right, one will find the ventilation settings panel. This panel contains all of the parameters that can be changed for any ventilation mode. Starting at the top left, you will see the field for inspiratory time, which ranges from 0.5 to 2 seconds. The breaths per minute field, which ranges from 0 or 5 to 60 breaths per minute, and the FiO2 setting, which ranges from 21 to 100%. Because the AHP300 has an onboard compressor, it only requires compressed oxygen or flow from an oxygen concentrator to augment air to the desired FiO2 setting. Moving on to the right, you will see the CPAP setting, which has a range of 0 to 25 centimeters of water. Below this, you will see the field for peak inspiratory pressure. When the appropriate mode is selected, this field will light up, and it has a range of 0 to 55 centimeters of water. Similarly, when a volume control mode is selected, the tidal volume field will light up below and will allow the user to input tidal volumes from 40 to 2,000 milliliters. In the bottom left corner, you will find the pressure support field. This is available in SIMV modes and in CPAP mode and allows the user to select between 0 to 25 centimeters of water. Finally, on the bottom right, you will find the trigger sensitivity field, which can be adjusted from -5 to -1 centimeters of water. As you can see, this panel is very much what you see is what you get and is very simple to use. Moving to the top right of the AHP300, you will find the alarm settings panel. This panel contains the fields to set the high and low airway pressure limits. The high airway pressure alarm is adjustable from 10 to 55 centimeters of water, while the low airway pressure alarm is adjustable from 5 to 15 centimeters of water. A couple of notes on these alarm settings. When using pressure control ventilation, as one adjusts the peak inspiratory pressure upwards, the high airway pressure alarm setting will automatically adjust to be 5 centimeters of water above the peak inspiratory pressure setting. When using volume control ventilation, this alarm setting will not only trigger the audible and visual alarm, but will terminate the breath when the pressure hits the selected set point. This will result in a lower delivered tidal volume than that set, which can be viewed on the Delivered Ventilation Parameters panel, which we will discuss in a few moments. Moving down to the Ventilation Modes panel, you will notice several ventilation mode options, each with its own segment. This aids in clearly identifying the mode and provides the ability to change modes quickly and easily. Moving down from the top, you will see the user can select from Volume AC, Volume SIMV, Pressure AC, Pressure SIMV, and the CPAP mode. Below these selections, you will notice 3 custom modes. These are additional rapid recall settings that function like the quick start modes in that they allow the user to quickly recall previously saved ventilation protocols. Again, we will cover this in the special features section. At the bottom right of the AHP300, one will notice the parameter and mode adjustment panel. The user will press these up and down keys to adjust the parameter after it has been selected on the ventilation settings or the ventilation modes panel. Once the desired setting has been selected, they will then press the button next to the selected parameter once again to confirm the new setting. Also on this panel is the control lock button. Pressing this button locks out all other buttons on the user interface except for the alarm silence button. When it is active, a blue light will be displayed above this button. In the bottom middle of the AHP300, one will find the additional settings panel. This panel contains the manual breath button and the O2 conserve button. The manual breath button, when pressed, will deliver an additional breath using the selected ventilation mode and parameters that are set on the ventilator. The O2 conserve button, when pressed, will implement the O2 conserve function, greatly reducing the amount of oxygen consumed. We will discuss this in the special features section. On the bottom right of the AHP300 is the ventilator alarms panel. This is the first of two ventilation feedback panels on the AHP300. On this panel, you will note a protruding master alarm, and below this, an array of individual alarms. One will also note the alarm silence reset button on the top left of the panel. Whenever an alarm occurs, the master alarm will signal, as well as the individual alarm that has triggered the event. Pressing the alarm silence button will deactivate the audible portion of an alarm for 110 seconds. When the event is cleared, the master alarm will turn off, but a red light will remain on the individual alarm indicating that the event occurred. This is useful if a user missed the event that caused the alarm. Pressing the alarm silence reset button again once the master alarm is cleared will clear the red light on the individual alarms as well. Starting from the top, the alarms are as follows. Systems failure. When the ventilator starts up, it does a self-check to ensure that the PC boards and sensors are communicating and recalling the proper dataset. If there are any errors in communication at this time or any time during the ventilator's operation, the system failure alarm will sound. Critical battery. This alarm actuates when the battery has 20 minutes of life left. The alarm cannot be silenced. Note that the AHP300 has 7.5 hours of battery life at adult settings, and as the battery drains, it will be displayed on the power meter. Also, one can attach the MCV-AUXBAT external battery pack for an additional 14 hours of runtime. This said, if the critical battery alarm sounds, one should plug the vent into AC power or attach an auxiliary battery pack immediately. Low O2. This alarm activates when the supply pressure from any connected compressed oxygen source drops below 38 psi. For a small EMS tank, 38 psi represents about 2 minutes of oxygen supply remaining. Note that should the oxygen source run out, the ventilator will switch to its internal compressor to continue to ventilate on air. Once the compressed oxygen source has been reconnected, the ventilator will automatically revert to its old FiO2 settings. Low air source. This alarm functions like the low O2 source, activating at 38 psi, but it only comes into play if the ventilator is plugged into a compressed air source from an air tank or wall air. Note that the AHP300 has a DISS air inlet on the side, even though it has an internal compressor. This is a backup feature that allows the vent to run nearly silently if it's being used in a location with wall air or standalone compressor. Apnea alarm. The apnea alarm comes into play when a patient is breathing on his or her own and is being supported in this breathing either through the CPAP or pressure support protocols, or if the clinician sets BPM to 0 in a pressure-regulated assist control mode. If a patient who is being so supported does not take its spontaneous breath for 20 seconds, the alarm activates and the ventilator goes into apnea backup ventilation mode. This mode is a fixed, pressure-controlled ventilation mode that operates at 20 centimeters of water and 10 breaths per minute. Note that the control lock also activates when apnea backup ventilation is triggered. The alarm will clear if the patient takes 2 spontaneous breaths within a minute. Also, if the clinician deactivates the control lock and changes the ventilator to controlled mode, the alarm will clear. High airway pressure alarm. This alarm will signal whenever the delivered airway pressure exceeds the high airway pressure alarm setting. Low airway pressure alarm. This alarm will signal whenever the delivered airway pressure does not reach the low airway pressure alarm setting for 15 seconds. Excessive patient circuit leak. This alarm will signal in pressure-regulated ventilation modes or in the CPAP mode if there is a significant leak in the circuit or mask assembly. In pressure-regulated ventilation modes, the alarm will signal if the delivered pressure does not reach 60% of the peak inspiratory pressure in the 25% of the set inspiratory time. In CPAP modes, the alarm will signal when it senses a leak of greater than 10 liters per minute. Note that although it signals the alarm, it will still compensate for a leak far in excess of 10 liters per minute. The AHP300 can generate 90 liters per minute from its compressor, and an additional 90 liters per minute when on 100% FiO2 from the compressed oxygen source. Therefore, the amount of leak compensation is the differential between the maximum output of the ventilator and the amount demanded during the patient's inspiration. For a patient demanding 60 liters per minute on 100% FiO2, this would equate to 100 liters per minute of available leak compensation. Above the ventilator alarms panel is the measured parameters panel. This panel provides crucial feedback regarding the set ventilation parameters. The user will refer to this panel and the alarms panel frequently when providing mechanical ventilation. In this panel are the following fields. Delivered tidal volume. This field displays the tidal volume delivered at the patient valve and is measured via an independent flow sensor. It provides critical data on potential leaks as well as the actual tidal volume of the patient's breath in CPAP mode. Peak inspiratory pressure. This field displays the peak inspiratory pressure delivered at the patient valve. One unique factor about this field is that it displays not only the peak pressure, but also the ramp-up pressure and the actual CPAP pressure. During inspiration, the display ramps up, then displays the peak pressure for the first half of the expiratory phase, and then the base pressure for the second half of the expiratory phase. This means that the user only has to look at one display to see these three pressure feedback parameters. I to E ratio. This field will display the I to E ratio based on the set inspiratory time and breaths per minute. In this example, it would read 1 to 5.0. Flow. This field is only active in volume control modes where the vent delivers fixed flows. In pressure control modes, it is blank because the flow is constantly changing in a descending waveform. Spontaneous breaths per minute. This field displays the number of spontaneous breaths taken and supported over the last minute. The spontaneous breath light lights up whenever such a spontaneous breath is being delivered. Finally, we move to the lower middle of the AHP300 and the battery parameters panel. On the left is the battery level display. This display will show the battery in 5 segments. When the battery level has reached a low level, the left 2 digits will turn red, and shortly before the battery level becomes critical, the meter will flash red, indicating that the ventilator should be connected to an external power source immediately. On the right of the display, there are indicators which will light up if the ventilator is being powered by external AC power or an external battery pack. When plugged into AC power, the battery level display will indicate the charging status of the battery. Note that the AHP300 can be left plugged in indefinitely without causing damage to the battery, thanks to an internal trickle charge function in the power supply. When a battery pack is attached, note that the meter will display the power of the battery pack rather than the internal battery.